The Garden Terrace restaurant was the kind of place that required reservations months in advance and enforced a strict dress code. Sunlight filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating tables of well-dressed patrons enjoying overpriced salads and artisanal cocktails. Mom's 60th birthday lunch occupied the large corner table, perfectly positioned to be seen by everyone in the restaurant. 30 family members crowded around. Aunts, uncles, cousins, my parents' closest friends, all there to celebrate 6 decades of Linda Patterson's life with champagne toasts and carefully curated conversation. I sat at the far end of the table in a simple white blouse and navy slacks, sipping sparkling water while everyone else drank mimosas. My older sister Veronica held court in the center, seated beside Mom in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her husband Douglas was next to her, looking important in his lawyer suit. My younger brother Marcus sat across from me with his pregnant wife Ashley, both of them glowing with the anticipation of their first child. Dad presided over the table from his position next to Mom, surveying his family with the satisfaction of a man who'd built a successful life. And then there was me, Natalie Patterson, the single daughter, the career woman, the family disappointment who'd prioritized work over marriage and motherhood. Natalie looks tired, Aunt Susan observed from 3 seats down, her voice carrying easily across the table. Are you sleeping enough, dear? You're looking a bit worn. I'm fine, I said. Just busy with work. Always work with you, she sighed. No time for anything else. Natalie's married to her career, Veronica said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Isn't that right, Nat? Your job is your whole life. I enjoy my work, I said simply. Enjoy it a little too much if you ask me, Dad said, cutting into his steak. A career is important, but it shouldn't be everything. Look at Veronica. She's a successful lawyer and she still found time to get married, have children, build a family. Veronica preened. It's about balance, Dad. Making time for what really matters. Unlike Natalie, Marcus added helpfully, who works 70-hour weeks and comes home to an empty apartment. It's not empty, I said. I have a cat. The table laughed. Even Mom, though she tried to hide it behind her napkin. A cat, Uncle Richard repeated. Well, at least you have something. Though a cat isn't exactly a substitute for a husband and children, Aunt Carol said. No offense, Natalie, but you're 34. The clock is ticking. The biological clock, Veronica clarified as if I might not understand. You know, if you want children, you really should start soon. After 35, fertility drops significantly. And you're not even dating anyone, are you? Not that I've mentioned, I said. Not that anyone's seen, Douglas corrected. Veronica tells me you haven't brought a date to a family event in over 3 years. That's concerning. Is it? I asked mildly. It suggests you're not prioritizing relationships, he said in a condescending tone he probably used with junior associates. You're so focused on your career that you've forgotten to build a personal life. I have a personal life, I said. Do you though? Veronica leaned forward, her expression a perfect mix of concern and judgment. When was the last time you went on a date? A real date, not a work dinner. It's been a while, I admitted. See. She turned to the table. My sister is 34 years old, beautiful and successful, and she's completely alone. It breaks my heart. It's not too late, Mom said quickly, reaching down the table to pat my hand. Natalie, there's still time. You could meet someone. Settle down. Have a family. You just need to make it a priority. Like I made it a priority, Veronica said. I was 31 when I married Douglas. We had our first baby at 33. Now we have 2 beautiful children and a third on the way. She touched her still flat stomach. The announcement rippled around the table with gasps and congratulations. Of course Veronica was pregnant again. Of course she'd chosen Mom's birthday lunch to announce it. Congratulations, I said, and I meant it. Veronica's children were actually lovely kids. Thank you, she said graciously. We're thrilled. 3 children by 36. Douglas and I are building a real family. The emphasis on real was subtle but clear. Unlike some people, Aunt Susan said, looking at me with pity, who'll die alone with only their work achievements to show for their lives. Susan, Mom said weakly, but she didn't actually disagree. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking, Aunt Susan continued. Natalie, you're a lovely girl. Smart, accomplished. But what good is a successful career if you have no one to share it with? No husband, no children, no family. I have family, I said. I'm sitting here with you. You know what I mean, she said. Your own family. A husband who loves you. Children who need you. A legacy beyond quarterly reports and performance reviews. At 34 and still single? Veronica's voice rose, ensuring the nearby tables could hear. Natalie, you need to face facts. You'll die alone with no family. Just a series of accomplishments that won't keep you warm at night or visit you when you're old. The table went quiet, everyone waiting for my response. Such a waste, Dad said, shaking his head. You had so much potential, Natalie. You still do. But you've let it slip away, focusing on work instead of building a life. I have built a life, I said. Have you? Marcus asked. A real life? Or just a career? I checked my watch. 12:47 p.m. Perfect timing. I have a very real life, I said calmly. You just don't know about it. What's that supposed to mean? Veronica asked sharply. It means you've all made a lot of assumptions, I said. About my life, my choices, my priorities. Without actually asking me about any of it. We ask, Mom protested. Every family gathering we ask how you are. You always say fine, and change the subject. Because you don't actually want to hear about my life, I said. You want to hear that I'm finally dating someone. Finally settling down. Finally becoming the version of me that fits your narrative. That's not fair, Veronica said. Isn't it? I asked. When was the last time anyone at this table asked about my work? What I actually do? What I've achieved? Silence. You know I'm a physician, I continued. But do any of you know what kind? What my specialty is? Where I work? You're a doctor, Dad said vaguely. At a hospital somewhere. I'm chief of pediatric surgery at Children's Hospital, I said. I run a department of 47 physicians and nurses. I've published 23 peer-reviewed papers. I developed a new surgical technique for correcting congenital heart defects that's now used in hospitals worldwide. Last year, I received the Innovator Award from the American College of Surgeons. The table stared at me. But none of you know that, I said. Because you've never asked. You're too busy pitying me for being single. You are single though, Aunt Carol said weakly. Am I? I asked. Veronica's eyes narrowed. Are you saying you're not single? I checked my watch again. 12:49 p.m. I'm saying you should stop making assumptions, I said. The restaurant doors opened. I'd timed this perfectly. Michael had texted me 5 minutes ago that they were parking. I'd calculated exactly how long it would take to get the children out of the car, through the lobby and to the restaurant entrance. My husband walked in first. Dr. Michaelchin was impossible to miss. 6'2", impeccably dressed in slacks and a button-down shirt, carrying our 5-year-old daughter Emma on his hip while holding our son Oliver's hand. He had that effortless confidence that came from being one of the country's top neurosurgeons, combined with the warmth of a man completely comfortable with fatherhood. Behind him, our nanny Maria carried our 6-month-old daughter Lily in a baby carrier. The entire restaurant seemed to pause. Several patrons recognized Michael. His face had been on the cover of Medical Journal last month for his groundbreaking work in pediatric neurosurgery. He spotted me and smiled, that brilliant smile I'd fallen in love with 7 years ago. He started walking toward our table, 3 children and a nanny in tow. I stood up, watching my family's faces. Mom had gone pale. Dad's fork had frozen halfway to his mouth. Veronica looked like she'd been slapped. Marcus's mouth was literally hanging open. Mommy! Emma squealed, reaching for me as they got closer. Michael set her down and she ran the last few feet, crashing into my legs with the enthusiasm only a 5-year-old could muster. Hi, baby, I said, scooping her up and kissing her cheek. Did you have fun at the aquarium? We saw otters, she announced. And Daddy bought us ice cream even though it's not dessert time. Michael reached us, leaning in to kiss me. A real kiss, the kind that left no doubt we were married. Happy birthday to your mom, he said. Sorry we're late. The otter exhibit was more popular than expected. Oliver crashed into my other side, wrapping his arms around my waist. Mom, can we get a pet otter? Please. We'll discuss it, I said, laughing. Maria arrived with baby Lily, who was making the hungry fussing sounds I recognized immediately. She needs to nurse soon, Maria said quietly. In a few minutes, I said, taking Lily from the carrier and settling her against my shoulder. She immediately quieted, content just to be held. I turned back to my family. 30 people stared at me in complete silence. The nearby tables were staring too, clearly entertained by whatever drama was unfolding. Everyone, I said calmly, I'd like you to meet my husband, Dr. Michael Chen. Michael, this is my family. Michael extended his hand to my father, who took it automatically, still too shocked to speak. Mr. Patterson, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. Natalie speaks of you often. Her husband, dead manage. Of 7 years, Michael confirmed. We met during our residencies at Johns Hopkins. Married 6 months later. Best decision I ever made. He looked at me when he said it, and the love in his eyes was so obvious that several women at nearby tables actually sighed. And these are our children, I continued as Emma and Oliver pressed against my sides. Emma and Oliver are 5, twins. And this is Lily, our youngest. 6 months old. Children, Mom whispered. You have children. 3 of them, I confirmed. Though we're thinking about trying for one more. Michael wants 4 kids total. I'm still on the fence. 4 kids sounds perfect, he said, wrapping an arm around my waist and kissing my temple. But 3 is pretty great too. You're married, Veronica said, and her voice had gone shrill. You have 3 children. And you never told us. You never asked, I said simply. You were too busy telling me how single I was. How alone I'd die. How I was wasting my life on my career. But Aunt Susan was struggling to form words. How did we not know? How is this possible? You didn't know because you never showed interest in my actual life, I said. Every family gathering you'd ask if I was dating. I'd say I was busy. You'd assume that meant single and alone. You never asked follow-up questions. Never wanted details. You just filled in the gaps with your assumptions. You lied to us, Veronica accused. I never lied, I said firmly. I never said I was single. You assumed. When you asked if I was dating, I said I was busy, which is true. Between surgery, research, and raising 3 children with my husband, I'm very busy. You deliberately misled us, Douglas said. I let you believe what you wanted to believe, I corrected. There's a difference. Michael pulled out his wallet and showed my father a photo. This is from our wedding. 7 years ago. Small ceremony, just close friends and colleagues. We would have invited family, but Natalie said you'd all assume she was making a mistake marrying so young and would try to talk her out of it. That's not, Mom started. It is though, I interrupted. You've spent my entire adult life telling me I was too focused on my career. Too ambitious. Too independent. If I'd told you at 27 that I was marrying a neurosurgeon I'd known for 6 months, you would have said I was rushing. Throwing away my potential. Making an impulsive mistake. The guilty silence confirmed it. So we eloped, Michael said cheerfully. Best wedding I could have imagined. Just us, 2 witnesses and a justice of the peace. Then we went back to work. We both had surgeries scheduled the next day. You got married and went to work the next day? Marcus asked. We're both surgeons, I said. Patients don't care about your honeymoon plans. We took a proper trip 3 months later. 2 weeks in Italy. That's actually where we conceived the twins. Too much information, Veronica muttered. You asked about my personal life, I said sweetly. I'm sharing. Oliver tugged on my sleeve. Mom, I'm hungry. Can we eat? Of course, baby, I said. I looked at the restaurant manager who'd been hovering nearby, clearly unsure what to do about the additional guests. We'll need a table for my family. Party of 5, including a high chair for the baby. Right away, Dr. Patterson, he said, recognizing me from my many meals here with medical colleagues. Your usual table? Perfect, thank you. You have a usual table, Dad said faintly. We eat here often, Michael explained. It's close to both hospitals. Natalie's at Children's and mine at Memorial. When we both have afternoon surgeries, we meet here for lunch with the kids. Both hospitals, Marcus repeated. You're a doctor too? Neurosurgeon, Michael said. I head the pediatric neurosurgery department at Memorial. Natalie and I often consult on cases together. Congenital conditions that require both cardiac and neurosurgical intervention. You're both department heads, Uncle Richard said slowly. Yes, sir, Michael confirmed. Though Natalie's department is larger. She has 47 staff members. I only have 32. Only 32, I teased. So small. He laughed and kissed me again. Emma made a face. Ew, kissing. You'll appreciate kissing when you're older, I told her. Never, she declared dramatically. Our table was ready. Michael started to usher the children toward it, but he paused. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, we'd be honored if you'd join us. We don't want to interrupt your celebration, but the kids would love to meet their grandparents. Properly, I mean. Not just in photos. Photos? Mom asked weakly. The ones Natalie shows them, he said. She has a whole album of family photos. The kids know everyone's faces and names. Emma and Oliver can name all their cousins even though they've never met them. We practice, Emma said proudly. Mommy shows us pictures and tells us stories about everyone. You told them about us? Veronica asked. Of course, I said. You're their family. Just because you don't know about them doesn't mean they don't know about you. The accusation hung in the air. We'd love to join you, Dad said suddenly, standing. Linda. Mom stood too, tears streaming down her face. I've missed 7 years. 7 years of my daughter's marriage. The birth of my grandchildren. Their first steps, first words, everything. You didn't miss it because it was hidden, I said gently. You missed it because you never asked. The information was always available. You just had to care enough to look. I do care, she said, her voice breaking. Then come have lunch, I said. Meet your grandchildren. Get to know your son-in-law. Learn about the life I've actually built instead of the one you imagined for me. We moved to the larger table. Emma and Oliver climbed into chairs, excited to be having lunch at a restaurant. Lily had fallen asleep against my shoulder, tiny fist curled near her mouth. Michael ordered for the kids, he knew their preferences perfectly. Oliver wanted chicken fingers, Emma wanted mac and cheese, and we'd share bites of both with them while pretending we didn't notice them sneaking food from each other's plates. How old are they? Aunt Carol asked, still trying to process. The twins just turned 5 last month, I said. Lily is 6 months. You had a baby 6 months ago, Veronica said. And you're chief of surgery? How is that even possible? Maternity leave, excellent childcare and a supportive partner, I said, smiling at Michael. Michael took paternity leave too. We tag-teamed the first 3 months, then Maria started helping during the day so we could both return to work. Maria is wonderful, Michael added. Former pediatric nurse. The kids adore her. Maria, sitting quietly at the end of the table, smiled. These are the best children I've ever worked with. Their parents are raising them beautifully. We try, I said. Though honestly it's chaos most days. 2 demanding surgical careers, 3 kids, a cat who thinks he runs the house. But it works. You have a cat too? Marcus asked. Mr. Whiskers, Oliver announced. He's orange and fat and sleeps on my bed. Also technically mine, Michael said. I brought him into the relationship. Natalie claimed she wasn't a cat person. Now she lets him sleep on her lap during conference calls. He's very comfortable, I defended. Veronica was still processing. Your husband is Dr. Michael Chin. The Dr. Michael Chin who developed that new brain mapping technique. You know my work? Michael looked pleased. Douglas does, she said, gesturing to her lawyer husband. He handles medical malpractice cases. Your technique has been mentioned in several trials as the new standard of care. It's saved a lot of lives, Michael said modestly. Particularly children with brain tumors. We can map critical areas much more precisely now, which means we can remove more of the tumor while preserving function. He's being modest, I said. Michael's technique has revolutionized pediatric neurosurgery. He's been nominated for 3 major awards this year alone. Natalie's surgical technique has saved more lives than mine, he countered. Her correction for hypoplastic left heart syndrome has a 98% success rate. The previous standard was 73%. We're both excellent surgeons, I said. And we're competitive about it. Very competitive, he agreed, grinning. Our department has a friendly rivalry with hers. We bet on surgical outcomes. We bet dinner reservations, I corrected. Last month Michael lost 3 times. I've had excellent meals. This month is mine, he said. I'm up 2-1. The easy banter between us, the obvious affection, the way we finished each other's sentences. It was clear to everyone watching that this was a real marriage. A strong one. How did we not know? Mom asked again. How did I not know my daughter was married? Had children? You never visited my home, I said. Never asked to. When you called, you asked about work. I told you about surgeries, research, publications. You listened politely and then asked if I was dating anyone. I'd say I was busy. You'd sigh and change the subject. But social media, Aunt Susan said. Surely you posted about your wedding? Your children. I don't use social media, I said. Never have. Too many privacy concerns with my patients. And Michael doesn't either. Same reason. Your colleagues must have mentioned it, Veronica said desperately, looking for someone to blame. Someone we know must work with you. Probably, I agreed. But I use my married name at work. Dr. Natalie Chin. My family knows me as Dr. Patterson. The connection isn't obvious unless you're actively looking. Dr. Chin, Dad repeated. You changed your name. I did, I confirmed. I wanted to share a name with my husband and children. It felt important. We hyphenated the kids, Michael added. Emma Chin Patterson, Oliver Chin Patterson, Lily Chin Patterson. We thought it honored both families. Even though one family has never met them, I said, the quiet accusation impossible to miss. That changes today, Mom said firmly. Right now. I want to know everything. Every detail. Start from the beginning. So I did. I told them about meeting Michael in the hospital cafeteria during residency. About our first date, a 20-minute coffee break between surgeries. About falling in love while exhausted and sleep-deprived and completely consumed by our medical training. Michael jumped in with stories about our wedding, about finding out we were having twins, about the chaos of managing 2 surgical careers and 2 newborns. Emma and Oliver added their own commentary, telling stories about their parents from their perspective. About how Daddy did funny voices when reading bedtime stories. About how Mommy let them help make pancakes on weekends. About family trips to the beach and the zoo and the science museum. Lily woke up and needed to nurse, so I excused myself briefly while Maria took her to the restaurant's private nursing room. When I returned, Michael had Emma on his lap and was explaining to my father how neural pathways worked using sugar packets as props. Your children are brilliant, Dad said, watching Oliver count his chicken fingers using advanced math for a 5-year-old. They're normal children, I said. Smart, yes. But mostly just loved and given opportunities to learn. Do they want to be doctors? Aunt Carol asked. Emma wants to be a veterinarian, I said. Oliver wants to drive trains. Lily is too young to have opinions beyond milk now, please. We support whatever they want to be, Michael said. As long as they're passionate about it and work hard. Good values, Uncle Richard observed. You're raising them well. We're trying, I said. Though ask us again during the teenage years. We might be failing spectacularly by then. You won't, Mom said with certainty. You're wonderful parents. I can see that. Even in just an hour. 7 years too late to see it, Veronica muttered. Better late than never, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. You can't change the past. But you can choose what happens next. What happens next, Mom said, is I get to know my grandchildren. And my son-in-law. And my daughter's real life instead of the imaginary one I created. I'd like that, I said. Me too, Dad added. Though I have one question. Yes. Why tell us now? Why not continue letting us believe you were single? I glanced at Michael, who nodded encouragingly. Because Lily's christening is next month, I said. We're having a ceremony at our church. Michael's family will all be there. His parents, his 3 siblings, 14 cousins, countless extended family. And I realized I wanted my family there too. Even if it meant having this conversation. Even if it meant confronting all your assumptions. We'll be there, Mom said immediately. We'll absolutely be there. All of us, Veronica added. I mean if we're invited. You're invited, I said. All of you. The kids should know their cousins. Should have Sunday dinners with their grandparents. Should grow up knowing their family. Even though we've been terrible? Marcus asked quietly. Even though, I confirmed. Family isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. Trying. Learning. Growing. Wise words, Michael observed, from someone who regularly lectures residents on the importance of learning from mistakes. I am an excellent lecturer, I said. The best, he agreed, kissing my temple. Emma wrinkled her nose again. So much kissing. Get used to it, Oliver told her. They kiss all the time at home too. It's disgusting, she declared. It's love, I corrected. Someday you'll understand. The lunch stretched for 2 more hours. My family asked questions. Real questions about my life, my work, my children. Michael charmed everyone with stories and medical explanations. Emma and Oliver warmed up to their grandparents, especially when Dad started doing magic tricks with his napkin. By the time we left, Mom had made plans to babysit next weekend. Veronica had asked for my advice on a medical question about her pregnancy. Marcus wanted to know if I'd speak at his company's health and wellness seminar. They were trying to know me instead of projecting their assumptions. As we walked to our cars, Michael holding Emma while I carried Lily and Oliver held my hand, Dad caught up to us. Natalie, he said. I owe you an apology. A massive one. You do, I agreed. For 7 years I pitied you. Thought you were wasting your life. And you were building this beautiful family while saving children's lives and advancing medical science. You're extraordinary and I was too blind to see it. You weren't blind, I said. You were just looking for something else. Looking for the daughter you imagined instead of the one I actually am. Can I get to know the real one? He asked. Starting now. Yes, I said. But it has to be real, Dad. Not just impressing you with achievements. Not just Sunday dinners where we all perform happiness. Real relationship. Real interest. Real effort. I can do that, he promised. Then yes, I said. You can know me. The real me. He hugged me then, careful not to squish baby Lily between us. I love you, he said. I should have said that more. Should have shown it better. You can show it now, I said. By showing up for your grandchildren. By being the grandfather they deserve. I will, he promised. I absolutely will. We drove home in our minivan. Practical, unglamorous. Perfect for 3 car seats and a week's worth of medical supplies and kids' gear. That went well, Michael observed. Better than expected, I agreed. Your sister looked like she'd been hit by a truck. She'll recover, I said. Veronica's resilient. Do you think they'll actually change? Maybe, I said. Or maybe they'll just adjust their narrative. Either way, our kids get to know their grandparents. That matters more than whether my family fully understands me. You're generous, he said. I'm practical, I corrected. Holding grudges takes energy I'd rather spend on surgery and our children. Wise and beautiful, he said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. Kissing. Emma yelled from the back seat. We're not even kissing. I protested. But you're thinking about it, she said. I can tell. Michael laughed. She's your daughter. Frighteningly perceptive. Our daughter, I corrected. And yes, she terrifies me sometimes. We pulled into our driveway. A modest house in a good school district, nothing fancy, just home. Our home filled with toys and medical journals and love and chaos and everything that made life worth living. That night, after the kids were asleep and Michael was reviewing scans for tomorrow's surgery, I sat in our bedroom looking at photos from lunch. Mom holding Lily. Dad doing magic tricks for the twins. Veronica looking shocked but trying to smile. 7 years of assumptions shattered in a single afternoon. I wondered if they'd really change, or if this was just a brief interruption in their preferred narrative. But either way, I had what mattered. A husband who loved me. Children who were healthy and happy. A career that saved lives and advanced medicine. A life I'd built on my own terms. And if my family finally wanted to be part of that life, well, there was always room for one more at the dinner table.